Hello everyone, welcome to this debate session. Our debating topic is: should African countries develop and implement their own ESCO guidelines and standards for genetic research instead of relying on international standards? This presentation comes from Group 2C, and we are going to affirm this debating topic. I am also the Milanzi from Tanzania. Welcome. Introduction. The major African context of genetic research refers into two aspects: ancestry and hereditary diseases. Always, these two aspects intersect with sensitive cultural issues like kinship and lineage. However, international ESCO guidelines and standards framed by the developed countries, first of all, they may not have a community consent, leading to not adequately address Africa's unique and diverse cultural tradition and belief system. On the other hand, for local ESCO guidelines, which are locally framed, attract the basic principles that may align with unique cultural, socioeconomic, and epidemiological realities. I believe, as my opening statement, that African countries should not rely solely on international standards in order to have relevant cultural, social, and ESCO sound initiatives and campaigns towards shared visions while safeguarding the interests of vulnerable population. The facts, the resonating local ESCO guidelines and standards comes from the evidence of successful African projects, which include the projects like Roll Back Malaria. Is the community engaged policy to address and combat regional burden, that is malaria disease, and to power public intervention. Number 2, the human heredity and African and health in Africa also is a community engagement as a continental initiatives to facilitate the sickle cell anemia awareness, also in genetic research and environmental factors influencing health in the African population. Number 3, the Southern African Treatment Access Movement, known as SATAM, is a community engagement, a continental campaigns for access and affordable HIV/AIDS medication. This gives me the power to affirm that Africa should not rely on international guidelines and standards. Instead, should develop and implement their own ESCO guidelines and standards. The powers also from these constructive arguments, in order to have powers to empower local scientists, to empower our nations, African nations, to empower cultural values, to empower socio-economic values and epidemiological realities, we must have addressed the national burden and the regional burden, because African bears specific epidemiological and socio-economic realities. Therefore, local tailored guidelines ensure ethical and community intervention. Number 2, evidence of historical injustice. The transfer of genetic material from Africa during exploitation time has so much caused the lack of medical research in most local scientists. Number 3, ESCO imperialism. The Declaration of Helsinki in 1947, which was adopted for ESCO medical research, has led to the lagging behind of Africa scientists, because this influenced leadership in clinical trials and biobanks for developed countries. You have heard my colleagues from the negative side saying international and ethical guidelines and standards ensure consistency, credibility, collaboration, and innovation. I say no, does not influence or ensure consistency, credibility, or collaboration due to the following responses. For inconsistency, because there is a world influence powers that shift unplannedly, like the shift from west to north or from north to west. There is no credibility because there is no transparent and trust in how to adopt new emerging technologies like cluster, regularly interspaced short palindromic syndromes, CRISPR. Also, there is no collaboration because in order to collaborate, we must mutually agree that this thing should be done in this way so that there is mutual benefits. But always the international standards and guidelines, they use one size fits all approach. Again, about innovation, that's not right. Always there's a lot of manipulation from international standards and regulation that promote dependence to local scientists, to local indigenous technologies in order to kill the indigenous skill that local scientists have. Closing statement. I say Africans should develop their own ethical standards and guidelines, and they should share their they should share their future vision and leveraging unique strengths through national and regional collaboration, because always ethical and cultural issues, they must get community consent. However, science is reality. Therefore, local ethical guidelines should play like a dual commitment to align with well-informed and broader ethical guidelines in order to resonate values and priorities that will ensure ethical sound and global relevant genetic research. Some of the references where this information can be ascertained from this of the 3 articles. Thank you for your attention. Welcome for questions.